Who will win?
Gary Paffett.
Paul di Resta.
René Rast.
Veer.
Wirt.
Meister.
It's going to be a long weekend.
I think we've got similar levels of pressure.
We have nothing to lose.
Who will win?
But when you're in a championship position, it doesn't necessarily guarantee you're going to finish it off.
We have the least pressure.
I'm the fastest.
Who will win?
Hello everyone and welcome to the final showdown here at the Hockenheim ring. The DTM season 2018 really has been so exciting, and this race weekend we really needed to have strong nerves, and especially for the last race we need good nerves, and this man does as well. René, I mean, it's been so exciting. You won 5 races in a row and now you're 1 position ahead of Gary in this qualifying, and for the race everything is set to go, but how are your nerves doing?
I'm okay actually. I'm in a very similar situation like last year. I have nothing to lose, you know. The only chance to win the championship is to finish ahead of Gary, obviously. We have to, you know, score a lot of points, and Gary needs to have a less than a top 5 finish. So it's going to be tough, but we keep it going.
We're certainly crossing our fingers. Best of luck, René. Thank you very much. And now to the commentator.
So René Rast then keeping his cool. Welcome, as Verena has said, to the finale of the 2018 DTM season. Massive crowds, sunshine, and in prospect, a scintillating race. That's for sure. 55 minutes plus 1 lap will decide the fate of who will be the champion for 2018. And it's mathematically possible for it to go to Gary Paffett, to Paul di Resta, and to René Rast. Every single connotation we have looked at mathematically. And basically, as René said, for him to win the championship, he needs to win the race, and really, Gary Paffett needs to be P5 or below. And given where the cars are starting, we have Marco Wittmann on pole position, René Rast P2 and Gary Paffett P3. Don't rule out Paul di Resta either, going from P11 on the grid, because during the 55 minutes plus 1 lap, of course, we have the mandatory pit stop, and an awful lot can happen. Strategy can come into play, and we don't know how it's going to go. What we do know is it'll be brilliant, and we also know that it is the last appearance in DTM of Mercedes-Benz. Thank you, fans, for 30 years. 30 years in DTM in total for Mercedes-Benz as they bow out, and there is a very exciting future for the DTM as Mr. Bernd Schneider delivers the 2018 Champions Trophy, which, of course, every driver really wants to take. There are only 3 that can, and those 3 are, once again, Gary Paffett, Paul di Resta, or René Rast. So Bernd Schneider then delivers that trophy, and the drivers will all pass the trophy on the way through their formation lap, just to give them a brutal reminder of what is at stake at the end of the 55 minutes plus 1 lap. All the drivers are feeling very tense as we look at Norbert Haug, and let's hear from Gary Paffett now.
Oh wow, so now it's the final race, Gary, and I mean, you guys are not good for our nerves because it's been so exciting. This is the final race and you're in a brilliant position basically, but how are you feeling right now and how confident are you to win this and to win the title?
We have a good car. The car's been really good in qualifying. It wasn't an easy qualifying, but I fought hard and got myself on the second row alongside René, so I'm really happy with that. I think we have a car to win the race, but we just have to try and do the best we can, collect as many points as we can, and stay close by to René. I mean, anything can happen still. You know, anything you can go any way still. So we just have to focus and just do the best race we can.
Sure you will. Thank you so much, Gary. Best of luck. Back to you.
Thank you very much. So we hear from Gary Paffett then, who of course is one of those contenders as we look at Toto Wolff and Susie then walking down the pit lane. An awful lot can happen, as Gary has indicated, during the course of the race duration. And Well, it wouldn't be DTM if it didn't happen. Lots and lots of, we had a fantastic race yesterday and we're expecting much of the same today. And there we can see Jamie Green, British driver there. And still in with a mathematical chance of the championship. Let's not rule him out yet. He goes from P11 on the grid, but can still do damage from there. Who knows what's going to happen during the course of the race. That, of course, is Paul di Resta. He's still in the hunt.
So now I'm here with Paul di Resta. Paul, you're still in a really good position to win this championship, to snatch the title. But I guess a really good strategy down your sleeve would be helpful.
I would call myself an outsider now. After the car got broken yesterday, I lost some new parts and just didn't quite get optimum. Drove a very good lap in qualifying, but the car just wasn't quick enough. So, like you say, Rennie and Gary are close to each other. They can cause a bit of chaos. And we can certainly do something very different. I don't think it's going to be a straightforward race. And at the end, you have to roll the dice and see what happens. And we're going to find out very soon what happens. But at the moment, we just need to pay attention.
But how does your car feel today?
Well, it wasn't quick enough in qualifying. Whether it be quick enough in the race, I don't know. But genuinely, there was no mistakes. It just wasn't quite there because all the bits you change in DTM is so critical to get it in the window. And that's what's hard.
Best of luck, Paul. Thank you so much. Back to the commentator.
So Paul then considers himself an outsider. Marco Wittmann is on pole position. Alongside him is René Rast. Going from P3 on the grid, then Gary Paffett. Bruno Spengler, P4. To the next row of the grid, we find Augusto Farfus and Eduardo Mortara on the third row. Then it's Joel Eriksson and Philip Eng, two BMWs together on the fourth row of the grid, P7 and P8. Then it's Nico Müller and Timo Glock, P9 and P10. P11 and P12, the sixth row, go the way of Paul di Resta, who we have just heard from, and Lucas Auer. Then it's Daniel Juncadella and Jamie Green on the seventh row, P13, P14 for those two drivers, ahead of Pascal Wehrlein and Mike Rockenfeller. And to bring up the rear of the grid, we find Loic Duval and Robin Freins. So that is the grid for the final race of the 2018 season here. And the championship has come right to the wire then, the final race of the year. And the champion will be decided at the end of this race. So there is the car of Paul di Resta, that qualifying time of 1:33.114. As he said, after the car got broken yesterday, a lot of parts had to be changed. And to get the car in the optimum position and to get the very best out of it, they didn't achieve it for qualifying, which is why he is down there in P11. Gerhard Berger there, the chief of the DTM, talking to his nephew Lucas Auer. Here is Timo Glock. He will be going from P10, a 1:33.112 for Timo Glock, the BMW driver who very much figured in the race yesterday. And Timo Glock had a very good race, to be fair, and it was reminiscent of our opener here at Hockenheim. Timo Glock on the podium for P3 yesterday. He's got work to do from P10 on the grid. One place ahead of him is Nico Müller. That 1:32.972 time gave him P9 on the grid for the 51 car of Nico Müller. Ahead of Nico Müller, the BMWs of Philip Eng and Joel Eriksson. As we can see from our commentary studio, as the cars are beginning to, or rather the spectators out on their grid walks are beginning to leave the grid now, as Gary Paffett gets into his car and will try and settle himself down for the prospect of the race ahead. René Rast, as you can see, being supported into his car, and there indeed is Philip Eng going from P8 on the grid. As I mentioned, a 1:32.960 for Philip Eng in his first season of DTM. He will round that out in this race, of course. So Philip also making himself comfortable inside the car, ready for the race. Joel Eriksson, of course, a race winner in DTM. Like Philip Eng, it's his maiden year in the DTM. But Joel Eriksson has taken a race win. It came in the second race at Misano in Italy. And Joel Eriksson goes from P7 on the grid. And there through the Champion 2018 trophy, you can see the René Rast car, which is going from P2 on the grid, and this, a fantastic helicopter shot of the Hockenheim and the huge crowd that is here to enjoy this final race of 2018. So Wittmann, Rast, then it's Paffett and Spengler. The team standings after 19 of 28 races. AMG Motorsport Petronas 348 points, 294 for the Motorsport Ramus team, as you can see. Toto Wolff then, once again, in the garage of Mercedes-Benz. We're not far from the race getting underway. Welcome to Hockenheim. Has hosted DTM since 1984, with 21 victories for Audi, 15 for BMW, but 35 for Mercedes-Benz. Will they bow out of their 30 years in DTM with a victory here this afternoon? The weather has been kind to us. The sun has shone all weekend long. Grandstands and car parks have filled to almost capacity to enjoy what will be a thrilling race. Unfolding in front of us then from our helicopter is the 4.574 kilometer Hockenheim circuit. And we look at Eduardo Mortara, the Mercedes-Benz driver, who will be going from P6 on the grid. Augusto Farfus for BMW, another good qualifying from Augusto. He did a good job yesterday and has done so today. He goes from P5 on the grid. And Bruno Spengler, former DTM champion, of course. He is alongside Gary Paffett on the second row of the grid for this, the final race of 2018. So Bruno Spengler and Gerhard Berger there, the chief of the DTM, in conversation with the head of Audi Motorsport, Dieter Gas, as we look at Gary Paffett now. That qualifying time of 1:32.846, as he says he gave it everything in qualifying. And in the end, the very best that he could do was P3, but he says we have a car that will win and can win the race. René Rast, pressure is off him, he says. He's got nothing to lose. Well, he has already out-qualified Gary Paffett and goes from P2. So, the scenario is basically he's got to be 5 places ahead of Gary come the end of the race for René Rast to become the champion and to lift this title for the second year in a row, if indeed he does that. Let's take nothing away from this man, though. 2-time DTM champion, although out of the equation in terms of winning the championship this year, Marco Wittmann. Had a torrid day of it yesterday. Had a crash in FP3, caused damage to the car. The car couldn't make it out for quali. He ended up having to start the race from the pit lane, and that, of course, compromised his race. But today, wow, he was electric. And a 1:32.6 gives him pole position. Driver standings then, 240 points for Gary Paffett. Paul di Resta considers himself an outsider now on 233. René Rast on 226 points. And there, as you can see, the huge crowd here at Hockenheim to enjoy this final race of 2018, and already the season for 2019. The calendar has been published. The excitement is beginning to build already, but before then, we've got this to be done and the championship to be decided. So the lap record stays with Jamie Green, a 1:32.456, which was set in 2017. The air temperature is 28 degrees. Track temperature is 10 degrees higher than that. And making his way through the thousands and thousands of spectators to be up here in the comms booth with us. He started the season with us and is going to close it as well. BMW junior driver, DTM race taxi driver, Ricky Collard. You've been out on the track today. I should think the track is about perfect, isn't it?
That's it. Good afternoon to everyone that's at home watching, and to all the thousands and thousands of fans here today. But track conditions today, absolutely perfect. The blue skies are out, the sun's shining, and I think we're up for what is going to be an ultimate showdown. And the other thing we've got to factor in with the heat becomes a higher tyre degradation, so we've got to pay attention to how these tyres are going to perform. I think this is the hottest it's been all weekend.
I agree with you.
So, yeah, let's see a couple of unknowns going in.
There is Gerhard Berger then walking off the grid. What a great job he and his team have done. And that's Mauro Engel wearing the shades. Haven't seen Mauro. Of course, he once a DTM driver. Good to see him here. Paul di Resta, pre-race, has said he considers himself an outsider now. He's going from P11 on the grid, Ricky. They're going to have to roll a different dice with regards to strategy for Paul, are they not, to get him up the order?
I think so, but again, we're talking about this heat, this temperature. It's going to have an effect on tyre wear, so by all means, I wouldn't class him for sure as an outsider. We've got René Rast, which I think we'll have the cheer from the Hockenheim crowd getting off the line to see if he can maintain his championship fight. But he's all the way down in third. He's got to win the race.
Well, he's got to win the race. We've got all the permutations here. Rast going from P2, Paffett going from P3. Paffett's in the gun seat, to be fair, because he has the advantage in terms of points. So whatever happens, if both drivers are in the points, we're talking about Rast and Paffett, Rast has got to be effectively 5 places ahead of Gary, really. So it's going to be tight, in my opinion.
It definitely will be, and I'm just having a little look at yesterday's results. Obviously, Gary came through in 4th, so you know it is literally on a knife edge. And this title fight, we couldn't have asked for anything better. And it's going to come right down to the last lap, last corner, and
to be fair,
epic.
You and I, when we were here in this position right at the beginning of the year, we had 2 fantastic races of proper door-barging touring car racing, which we loved. It's been pretty much like it all season long, hasn't it? And that has meant that the DTM has delivered some incredible race action. And let's be truthful, over the course of how many races we've run, to get to the final race, and the championship can still go one of 3 ways. You know, you couldn't have written a better book, Ricky, could you?
Absolutely not. We're all sat here going, God, come on, we've got 55 minutes plus 1 lap. We want it to start now. They're doing the formation lap there. This will be a really, really crucial start for all 3 of these title contenders. And also Marco. Marco's starting off pole position here. We've got to remember, he's not in the championship fight, like you pointed out.
But he still wants to win the race.
Exactly. So if anyone's got nothing to lose, it's Marco Wittmann.
Yeah, I agree with you. So we can see as we're on board with René Rast now, he is, I have to say, in the pre-grid interviews, he and Gary both looked really, really cool. Paul, I thought, was a bit edgy. He will be a bit edgy because of so many things changed on the car yesterday. They didn't optimise the car. It didn't perform to his expectations during quali. That's put him on the back foot. But, as is often the case with hugely professional racing drivers, when they're on the back foot, that's when they drive at their best.
Well, there's one man that's been on the back foot since 6 rounds ago, and that's René Rast. And
well, yes.
There's a classic example as when you've got, he keeps saying he's got nothing to lose, and when he has got nothing to lose, you know, it gives you that different mindset, which unlocks something special in a racing driver. It gives you that go faster pedal that we've been talking about yesterday.
Audi saying goodbye to Mercedes-Benz, as we would expect them to, and Mercedes-Benz, of course, bowing out of DTM after this race, after 30 glorious years, and very, very sad to see them go. However, things looking very, very good for 2019. The cars line up then. And they're being guided into their grid boxes. There is Gary Paffett. Is this going to be the year that he can add to his championship? René Rast is going from P2 on the grid. Gary Paffett from P3. There is Paul di Resta, as you can see. We bring the graphics up on screen. Those are the championship contenders. The engine note rises. Stand by. We have 5 red lights. The lights go out. Let's go racing for the final time in 2018 with DTM. René Rast, brilliant start, puts himself ahead of Marco Wittmann. Gary Paffett maintains that P3 position. So as they head into turn number 2 for the first time of asking, René Rast has already put himself up 1 position. There's a lock-up, I think that came from Joel Eriksson. As the cars make their way now through that sequence of turns, which is turns 2, 3 and 4, and onto the Parabolica. For the first time of asking, we're on board with Paul di Resta. If anyone has got to do some overtaking, it is this man. So René Rast leading from Marco Wittmann. Then it is Gary Paffett. And as they head into the hairpin for the first time of asking, you can see Gary to the outside of Marco Wittmann. And almost gets alongside the BMW, but not quite. Thankfully, all the cars come through there, Ricky, without any touching, I think, through that hairpin. And that's not always a given, is it?
That's never always a given, and it's never a given until the end of the first lap. But again, we're seeing the 2 guys going side by side as Farfus now tries to slot in behind Edo, but it's all looking a bit close out there, and it's interesting to see Paul. Paul has to make these risks and take these risks to be able to get himself up near the sharp end, but then at the same time, these risks are what could cost him quite a lot of points.
That was a good move by Edo Mortara to put himself ahead of Augusto Farfus. So in the early stages of this race then, where nerves are perhaps at their most frayed, then all the drivers appear to be keeping it very keen and clean. Timo Glock, who delivered a fantastic race yesterday and was on the podium as René Rast stretches his legs now. And we put 1 lap in the book of this 55-minute plus 1 lap race as DRS gets enabled. Rast leads from Wittmann. Paffett is P3, then it's Spengler, Mortara, and then it's Farfus Muller, and Paul de Resta is P8. So running very wide there is Daniel Juncker-Deyer, just slotting in front of Loic Duval. So through that turn 2, 3 and 4 sequence and out onto the Parabolica once again. Gary Paffett already working on the brake bias then, and changing from front to rear or rear to front, the percentage of braking. And you can see the cars bottoming out on the bumps leading up to the hairpin there, Ricky. And Paul de Resta and Philip Eng have got to change position. Now, Paul de Resta is P8, Philip Eng is P10, Ricky.
Exactly, that could be quite costly there for Paul. Like we're saying, he has to make these risks and take these risks, but at the same time, if he pushes another contender wide, then he's going to have to take the penalty for it. But here we go, Lucas Auer down the inside of Timo Glock, and bit of textbook stuff there, but Timo, the fighter, cool, will continue to push for the rest of the lap to try and get past us. Lucas runs a little bit wide there. Oh,
look at this, Paul de Resta. Well, he said before going into the race he considered himself an outsider. Well, that's definitely not helped his quest, but now he's got to do it all over again. He's got Jamie Green right on his tail now. Jamie Green almost to the inside of him around the Sachs turn. So Paul de Resta, that's dropped him down the order by a further 2 places. Oh, and that was looking very dodgy from Philip Eng ahead of him. He almost lost the front end of the car, Ricky.
Yeah, a little bit of a moment there. It's quite difficult because you're on power as you're turning through the S's, and then as you come into the last bit, you try and hit the brakes, and it's quite easy for the rear to snap into a bit of snap oversteer, which, yeah, he caught well, but that could have been a bit of a moment.
So Rast leading from Wittmann, Paffett, then it is Spengler, Mortara, Farfus, Muller, Eriksson, Eng, and de Resta now is P10. That's the way it's looking at the moment. Gary Paffett then seemingly quite comfortable in that P3 place at the moment. He will have DRS available to him. And Jamie Green and Lucas Auer are going to have to change position as well. So Lucas Auer, who's been on something of a charge up the order, hasn't he? And he's going to advantage himself because he'll be going to P11, and Jamie Green will be returning to P12. If it stays this way, Paffett will win the championship by 4 points over René Rast. Paul de Resta will be P3, but we've got an awful lot of racing still to come. 50 minutes plus 1 lap. Nothing is a given yet, is it?
Nothing is a given, especially around this tight, twisty circuit of Hockenheim, and it just entails for such great racing here. And you can hear Timo Glock yesterday saying he thinks this is one of the best tracks in the world. And I think for spectators, it definitely puts on a good show.
Oh, you're not wrong there. And the drivers love it too. As you said yesterday, Timo Glock said, as far as he's concerned, it's one of his favourite tracks. Well, of course it would be. He's had a lot of success here. And, of course, was on the podium again yesterday. He's got to work hard to get on the podium today from where he is, P13 at the moment. Ahead of him is the warring pair of Lucas Auer and Jamie Green. And Lucas Auer back now ahead of Jamie Green. Jamie Green having to relinquish that position. So René Rast is 7/10 ahead of Marco Wittmann. And Gary Paffett is 1.4 behind the race-leading René Rast car.
It's quite interesting now on the exit of turn 1. That curb is really, really aggressive. And if you hit it just a little bit too wide, it can really cost you quite a lot of time, because like we saw Gary Paffett in qualifying, it can really just bounce the car up in the air, and the front wheels completely come off, and you're just a passenger, and there's nothing you can do.
On board with Gary Paffett now. Look at the concentration and the focus as he heads into the hairpin now, creeping ever closer to Marco Wittmann. And behind is Edo Mortara and Bruno Spengler and Augusto Farfus. And Bruno Spengler all over the back of Augusto Farfus now. So Bruno Spengler all over the back of Edo Mortara, I should have said, as here comes Timo Glock and Jamie Green. So Glock going every which way he possibly can to try and find his way past Jamie Green. That could have been a dodgy instant, couldn't it? Because Jamie was turning, Timo was just kissing the back end of the car, and that caused Jamie to have to use a bit of opposite lock to control that. But Glock means business here, and he's trying to fight his way up the order. He's got Pascal Wehrlein and Robin Fines right behind him. So Jamie Green and Timo Glock taking very different lines through that Sachs turn. You've said you can go high or low, NASCAR terms, and whichever way you choose. And this was the incident, look. this is where Timo was able to put himself alongside, and that's where the touch came.
Yeah, I think Timo has just tried to sort of get the cut back there, and I don't think Jamie's quite seen him. And they've just sort of made a little bit of contact, but it's all well and love and war.
Yeah, absolutely. So on board then, as Timo Glock continues to try and pursue the Jamie Green Audi that is ahead of him. Jamie Green running in P12, Timo Glock is P13. So Rast, Wittmann, Paffett, and here they are then. And Wittmann looking a bit closer to René Rast now. Gary Paffett being left in their wake just a little bit, under braking. Wittmann gets much closer to René Rast. Of course, René can win this race, but that's still not enough for him to seal the championship. He needs Gary to lose a number of places.
Absolutely, and at the same time, he's coming under a lot of pressure now from Marco Wittmann as he closes under braking. And I think the BMW is looking quite strong now.
I agree.
Compared to yesterday. Yesterday it looked like they were struggling a little bit, but today it's another ball game. And Marco was certainly fired up after yesterday's results. And we said that this would happen if a driver has a bit of a bad weekend or a bit of a bad result. It shows a true champion when they can jump back in and just electrify, and that's what Marco's doing today. But it's a bit of a cat and mouse game, isn't it? You can see where the Mercedes is better than the BMW, and then you can see where the BMW is better than the Audi, and it's all a little bit of a sort of cat and mouse. But
to be fair, after qualifying, Marco said, you know, the team had done a brilliant job. You know, after the crash in FP3 yesterday, you know, the car was worked on, and in the race it was suboptimal. However, in qualifying today, by dint of pole position, you know, they had got it absolutely nailed, Ricky.
It's the best way to really pay the team, I think, when you can go, cheers, boys.
Yes.
Thanks for fixing it. Thanks for putting in the extra hours, because they were up all night trying to fix it, and to get it fixed and then out at the front is a real good way to say thanks.
So, to reiterate, if it stood this way, if it stays this way for the remaining duration, 46.5 minutes plus a lap, Gary Paffett would be DTM champion. But here comes Marco Wittmann. Now, of course, he's not in the championship chase, therefore has got even less to lose than potentially somebody else. What he does want is to win the race, of course. And whether René Rast is in the championship race or not, he cares little, because the most important thing to Marco Wittmann is to be P1 in this particular race. And we're on board with him now as he chases down the René Rast Audi. So René Rast leading the race then. Marco Wittmann P2, Gary Paffett is P3, and you can see Gary's a bit out on his own at the moment. But whether he's just being very sensible about this, Ricky, and not pushing it too hard because it's unnecessary. You know, he would know that at this stage, if everything stays like this, he's in the gun seat, and you know, nothing is going to wrestle that away from him. So rather than take too many risks and try and go out in a total blaze of glory by winning the race, he's better off just sitting there in that P3 position at the moment.
Absolutely, but it's interesting to see, like, compared to what we had yesterday, where we were seeing the Audi was sort of better at the end of the race compared to the Mercedes that was stronger at the start of the race. So will we see a deterioration in the Mercedes tyres compared to the Audi like we saw yesterday, or is Gary actually thinking, okay, I'm going to try and save my tyres now and come at the end? But
the dice is being rolled.
Yeah, I have to hit them hard.
So the dice is being rolled then.
Yes.
For a strategy for Paul di Resta to try and get him up the order. He is the first car to pit. The team stand by to receive the Paul di Resta car. This needs to be a good stop, Ricky. Pressure is on the engineers and mechanics, isn't it?
Absolutely, he stopped perfectly in the marks. It's interesting, Mercedes go for a front-to-back strategy with the tyre change, but it's a 7 seconds. Very good.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it? So Paul di Resta on his way back out again. Bear in mind, he'll be on cold tyres now. As we said, the track temperature, I think, is a little bit warmer today than it was yesterday, Ricky. Therefore, that will have an effect on tyre deg, as you have indicated. As now, René Rast is actually firmly having to defend from Marco Wittmann, who's got ever closer. He's within 0.6 now. So Paul di Resta has been in for his mandatory pit stop, the first driver to stop. And that means, of course, his tyres will have to last the longest through until the end of the race. But at the moment, he's going to be on very, very fresh tyres. He's going to have a completely clear track ahead of him, isn't he?
It'd be interesting to see now when the other guys do their pit stops where they come out relative to Paul, because Paul should be in front of a chunk of cars, but then at the same time, towards the end of the race, he's going to be really, really vulnerable. And like we're saying with the tyre deg of the Mercedes, will this be like a double whammy, or will he be able to break the sort of gaggle of cars that he was amongst in clear air and then come out and fighting? But Gary's now just dropped to outside the 1 second window, so he's now effectively lost his DRS and he's going to have to be careful that Montara doesn't catch up onto the back of him.
Yeah, so on board here, as we look at the Augusto Farfus car, we're on board the splitter cam of Nico Muller's car. Nico Muller is running in P7 in that Audi. And here is our race leader and P2. The cars really bounce along that parabolica. When you drive the DTM car, as indeed you do, Ricky, do you really feel that through the steering column?
Yeah, it really sort of shakes you around, but it's interesting to see Marco is using the DRS quite a lot. It'd be interesting to see in a minute when we get the DRS figures, how many times he's actually used it, because obviously Rene wouldn't have used it at all. Take us for a look at the restart.
So it was a good start from Marco Wittmann. It was a blistering start from Rene Rast, and he put himself ahead of Marco Wittmann before they even got into turn number 1. Of course, P2 is the inside going into turn number 1. Marco Wittmann tried to close the door but was denied the opportunity to do that. And Rene Rast then, a lightning start from him. On board with Gary Paffett. And he could see already Rene Rast having got past the Marco Wittmann BMW, which is probably not what he wanted to see. Marco Wittmann just did seem to bog down in the second part of the start. Is that fair to say, Ricky?
Yeah, that looked like a bogged down start, but the Audi looked so strong in the starts yesterday, and then even this morning when they did the free practice starts, it's just looked extremely strong. But
oh, that's Jamie Green, isn't it?
Looks to be Jamie Green, yep.
So he just ran off, back on again now. So that's dropped Jamie Green down the order. And it was around the Sachs turn, wasn't it?
We're seeing this is such a difficult corner to get right, and we're seeing so many drivers in all formulas struggling with this high line because there's just no room for error.
Drifted that beautifully through the gravel. It's not the quickest way around that turn, is it? That's for sure. But Mike Rockefeller has been in as well now, so you said it'll be interesting to see.
In the gravel? No, the only one who will stop is Di Resta, and he will pass now.
So there is Paul Di Resta, who's the only man that stopped. Sorry, Ricky.
That was a clever idea. So obviously he saw Jamie go off and was maybe expecting a safety car or a full course yellow, and he thought maybe I can pit under it so I can then undercut some of the guys. That was a clever thinking by Mike, and he's got the experience and a wise head on him. But unfortunately, fortunately for Jamie, he managed to get out, and unfortunately for Mike, there's no safety car.
So here is Rene Rast then, who's stretching his legs now. He's 1.1 seconds up the road from Marco Wittmann. That means that takes Marco out of the DRS window, doesn't it? Gary is out of the DRS window on Marco Wittmann. He's protected from behind, isn't he? Because he's got Edo Mortara behind him, who's not going to cause him any problems at all. So at the moment, it's been pretty comfortable for Gary Paffett, but there's still a long way to go yet. And of course, these drivers have got to decide when they want to come in and make their mandatory pit stop. So 9 laps completed from Rene Rast. 1.6 seconds to the good as he runs off through turn number 1. In fact, every driver does, as you can see. Gary perhaps more than most. And on board now he can see P1 and P2 escaping from him, but providing he maintains within this window, if you like, of being within a couple of places of Rene Rast, absolutely everything is fine for Gary Paffett. He said the car was supreme in qualifying. Making lots of adjustments to that brake bias, Ricky.
I am pretty sure that he is doing it every lap into the hairpin, because the hairpin is the slowest corner on the track.
Yes.
So maybe he's adjusting it for there, but every time we ride on board with him, he is really having to work hard to get the lap time out of the Mercedes, and maybe they're looking at a way of looking after the tyres as well, because it's so easy just to snag that right front into the hairpin.
Okay. Well, Timo Glock there, ahead of the Robin Freins, and both Timo Glock and Robin Freins ahead of Pascal Wehrlein. And looking back at the Robin Freins Audi then, Robin Freins was on the podium yesterday, finished that race in P2. Fantastic rearward looking onboard cameras, they rattle across the curbs there. So Rene Rast leading the race from Marco Wittmann and Gary Paffett, and Edo Mortara is P4. Tyres are standing by, and that, I would suggest, is for Marco Wittmann.
Yeah, I didn't quite get to see which garage it was, but obviously it's quite... I don't think his name is Andy or Oppa. I think that might be the mechanic's name. Well, it's a very strange way of saying front left and front right.
Yes. So here we can see the DRS usages. You said that Marco Wittmann had been using DRS a lot. You're right, he's only got 5 laps of DRS left.
Yeah, I think maybe it looks like Rast has just got such good pace. I think Marco was using the DRS to just try and stay with him, and try and drop Gary. And it looks like now keep an eye on the timing screens, just to see how they're getting on with regards to the distance and the gap. But at the moment, the last lap from René Rast, a 35.9.
Oh, Robin Frijns doing everything he can to try and get past Timo Glock, taking curb, grass, Astro, you name it, on the way to the hairpin, and then makes his car so wide to prevent Timo Glock coming back at him. That was an unorthodox route around the Parabolica, Ricky, in my opinion. I'd love to see a replay of that. He launched the car.
I thought I had 2 minutes to breathe and have a little look at the timing screens for us here, but no, there's action all over the place. Be interested to see a replay of that.
Robin he is that sort of a driver. Here it is. Now, was he squeezed by Timo? Well, whether he was or not, he held on to it, and that was a big save from Robin. And he almost sort of says there, take that, Timo, as he ran him as wide as he could. And Danny Yucadea is another one that's lifting the car. Look, the entire front end of his Mercedes. Extraordinary.
If you catch that curve wrong,
Gary Pavitt, forgive me.
This has to be the perfect pit stop. No mistakes. Another adjustment on the brake bias.
Incidentally, black and white flag.
And there's no one else in the pit lane.
For Timo Glock, for forcing Robin Frijns off the track. In comes Gary Pavitt. This has got to be perfect.
Oh, a little bit slow on the front right.
Watch the white line, watch the white line.
A 7.6, that's good enough.
Wasn't the quickest we've seen, but we've certainly seen a lot slower as well, haven't we, Ricky? So he's on his way out of the pit lane now and is on cold tyres. And there is Paul di Resta, who, of course, his tyres now are up to temperature. But Gary, I would suggest, is perhaps sufficiently up the road. Oh, the car is very tetchy, isn't it, at the back end under those new tyres. He's perhaps not aggressively weaving, just slowly weaving the car from side to side, just to gently generate the temperature into the tyres. You've said to me in the past, Ricky, you can put temperature into the tyres too quickly. You can be too aggressive.
Yep, that's it. We always have the famous British Bake Off terminology of making it crispy on the outside and soft on the inside. But yeah, you've got to warm the tyres really from the inside and then let the temperature radiate out. But unfortunately, that can take quite a long time, maybe 1 or 2 laps. And the guys haven't got that. They've got to get straight on it in the space of a couple of corners as we ride on board now with Timo Glock into the famous Sachs curve.
So Timo Glock then, who has had a warning flag, as in comes Edo Mortara and also Bruno Spengler, and all of a sudden the pit lane becomes quite busy, doesn't it?
And reset, right to the end. You're going to come out just in front of Paul, and obviously Gary's on track as well. Just look after them.
Now, that was look after them as drivers rather than look after the tyres, I would suggest. So Bruno on his way out now. Oh, this...
A 6.5. This would be interesting to see.
No! That's got to be an unsafe release. That's got to be an unsafe release. Right into the path of Bruno Spengler.
Be interesting to see what the race stewards thought of that, but again, a great stop there by the BMW mechanics, and Mercedes a little bit slow with the pit stops, and that's cost them.
Yeah, well, it was 8.4, wasn't it, for Edo Mortara? And 6.5 for Bruno.
Yeah, that's probably one of the quickest stops I think we've seen
and then
this weekend.
They released Edo almost into the path. Well, he was into the path of Bruno Spengler. Bruno probably had to brake, didn't he, to prevent a collision there.
Yep, so it'll be interesting to see what the
under investigation for an unsafe release, Edo Mortara. And that always, I think, is well, not unfair, because clearly it happened, but it's not necessarily the responsibility of the driver, is it? You don't know when to go. You're told.
No, it's really good that DTM give us access to the radios there, and you can hear them saying, go, 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 go. As here comes René Rast now into the pits, with a big slide into the pits as well.
Now, he locked up hugely yesterday. He's done the same today, all 4 wheels.
He's got to be so careful not to exceed the pit lane speed limit.
Right, he's in, again, perfectly on his marks. So the team go to work on the René Rast car.
Oh, 6.8. It's a 6.8.
You have 3-second margin to Pavitt to warm up the tires. 22 laps to go. Whitmer is going long. They come from behind at the end of the race.
So Rast in then, making his way out of the pit lane now. This heli shot showing us it was a good stop. and he's going to have 2 seconds to Gary Paffett. Gary Paffett, of course, will be on warm tyres. Rennie Rast will be on cold tyres. There is Gary. Now, come the end of the race, Ricky, factor this in. You said yesterday you felt that the Audi came on stronger as the tyres, they seem to... you're right, he's doing it every time, isn't he, as he heads towards the hairpin?
This is what Michael Schumacher used to do in Formula One, and this is just shows you how much of a high level the drivers are at, adjusting the brake bias every single lap. And it's so easy once you're in a battle and fighting just to forget to go back that half a turn or to get mixed up in your brake bias, but they're doing such a good job out there. And
back to the point I was saying, you said that you felt the Audi looked better towards the end of the race than the Mercedes.
I think this is the case, yes. And it'll be interesting as well to see with the heat if that's going to have an even big effect on the Mercedes. And it's going to be interesting as well to see when this man, Marco Wittmann, makes his pit stop, because we've still got 32 minutes. As that button they press there, that's just to cool the brakes. It's like a little water pistol that goes onto the front discs.
Yes.
And cools them, because otherwise you get quite bad brake fade. As here's the release.
Now, this is under investigation. I mean, from my side, Ricky, we could see it because we're right opposite that. It looked to me like a slam dunk of a penalty. There was no question that, in my opinion, he shouldn't have been released.
I think so. Again, I don't think he should have been released, and it's a difficult call to make because it all relies on how much wheel spin you get when you come off the jacks.
Yes, of course.
And if you have too much, then that can slow you down. And sometimes you get a good release, it can be okay. And it was.
In fairness, no further action. So you're right, and I'm wrong. What they do, they look at the data, don't they, in terms of when that car left the grid box and whether, and as you say, if he got more wheel spin than he was expected, that would slow him, and then we're talking about tenths and 100ths of seconds. Okay, well, there wasn't a collision. There is Gary's wife looking on, Lisa, as Gary now. You can see the concentration there as he, you really have to use the lock, don't you, to turn that car in, or rotate it is the racing driver term.
Yeah, they're not like a London minicab where they can do a turn on a 50p piece. You have to put a lot of lock in to try and get it to go around these hairpins. And quite often you can see the driver, sometimes when we have the contact going into the hairpin,
yes,
it looks like the driver releases the steering, but it's not. He's got the maximum lock on, but
yeah.
It just won't turn any more than what's on the rack.
So here is Gary now heading in towards turn number 11. There is Rennie Rast, who, to be fair, he did a very, very good job, didn't he, in terms of staying ahead of Gary following that pit stop. Around the Sachs turn now. It says P12 for Gary Paffett. That, of course, is actually not the case because it is pre all the other drivers stopping. Because still to stop, we have Marco Wittmann, who's leading the race. Nico Müller is P2. Then it's Augusto Farfus, Philipp Eng, Robin Freins, Lucas Auer, Pascal Wehrlein, Loic Duval, Daniel Juncker-Deyer, and Jamie Green. All yet to stop. Some 10 drivers yet to stop.
And to let everyone at home know, I've been keeping an eye on the timing screen as well.
Say, what's the difference?
And Marco Wittmann is lapping about half a tenth. So we're talking a fingernail of a difference, but a difference is a difference, and it's such close racing in DTM as he just has a little lock up there. The front left under rotates going into turn 8, but will it be enough? And how long will he be able to make these tyres last?
Well, he is, for the moment, staying out. Now, I thought when we looked into the garages that they were preparing tyres for Marco Wittmann. Now, it might be that I picked the wrong garage and it wasn't Marco Wittmann's garage. He's around Sachs turn now. Back on the power once again. Is this going to be the lap that Marco Wittmann does decide to come in to take his mandatory pit stop and to change those tyres? Well, they normally leave it quite late before they make the decision to dive into the pit lane, but not as late as that. So Marco Wittmann does stay out again. There is Rennie Rast. Of course, what Marco Wittmann has now, Ricky, he's got completely clear track ahead of him. So what they're going to try and do is leave it as late as possible, but they work out the equation, don't they, at his lap time relative to the lap time that Rennie Rast is doing now, and they will try and get him to undercut, won't they?
Yeah, that's it. So,
I mean, a 1:36.943 last time round for Wittmann.
I think this could be the lap. I think we're going to see Marco Wittmann pit because you can see the front tyres look like they're just starting to give up a little bit there. Because
Rast and Paffett, they're in the 35s, 1:35.648 for Rennie Rast, 1:35.698 for Gary Paffett. So you can see there is a significant difference in the lap time between those that have stopped and those that are yet to stop. So basically the advantage Wittmann is getting through having that clear track ahead of him is not great enough now to compensate for the
tyres. Yeah, exactly. So we've got to see a pit stop, I think, and he would know that as a driver, as we'll just keep our eyes out onto the pit wall to see if the BMW mechanics come out. But to ride on board again with Gary as he makes a small adjustment on the brake bias, all the way down to first gear. Small little lock up there on the front right as you see the lock-up lights come on. And then again, you have to be so careful not to spin the tyres up there on traction.
Right. He de-adjusts the brake bias, doesn't he, off the back of the hairpin, which would suggest that he makes that change going into it to maximise what the car will deliver for him. Very clever driving.
Very clever driving.
Wittmann's in.
It's a late turn in.
So Marco Wittmann comes in. Whoa, slow that car down. He does manage.
Stop light, brake balance rearward for the outlap. We decided to maximize the tire advantage against Gary. Gary has undercut us, so you're currently P3.
So Gary has done that undercut by virtue of the fact that when they stopped him, and he's been able to deliver significant lap time advantage.
So actually there's no threat from behind. It's about P2 or P3 for you, Marco. Gary has 3 more DRS. Watch the white line.
And there comes Gary going through, you see. So it worked, didn't it, for them? And didn't work for BMW.
No, I think they must have left it just a little bit too late there, but be interesting to see, like we say, with how the end of the race will fare, with the tyre degradation being a key factor here at Hockenheim.
Cars become lighter, of course, don't they, because the fuel load reduces.
I suppose that's one way to save your tyres, is get them airborne out of the turn 1 on the exit curve.
Yes. Oh, on the inside of Lucas Auer. Lucas Auer completely defenceless because he's just returned from his pit stop and he's on cold tyres, so Timo Glock able to go through without any problem at all. So those still to stop: Muller, Farfus, Freins, Wehrlein, Duval, Junkdea and Jamie Green. Duval comes in now, I believe. And this is Joel Eriksson on the inside of Mike Rockenfeller. So as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, it's for P14 in the race overall, but bear in mind, these drivers have stopped. So Joel Eriksson goes through on Mike Rockenfeller. Nico Muller nominally is leading the race. And there you can see on the pit wall, Arno Zenzen as René Rast continues his quest. Rast has done and is doing everything that he can. But when you're in a position, Ricky, in a Drivers' Championship, where you're reliant on other drivers not to score well, it's not in your hands, is it?
No, and he'd be wishing that he found this form at the start of the season, because it may be too little too late, and Gary's holding a very good second position, and it'd be interesting to see now if Marco can catch him and how much of a fight Gary will put up to Marco.
René could not have done any more, could he? You know, he's won 5 races in a row. What have we got? 25 minutes plus a lap. Still plenty can happen in that period of time.
Let's not put the commentator's cursor.
No, let's not do that. I'm absolutely not going to do that. But you know, he couldn't have done any more. But it was always going to be reliant on other drivers not scoring well. And at the moment, the way the situation stands, even with René leading the race, which actually he is, it ain't going to be enough for him to seal the championship and make it 2 championship wins in a row.
No, but it'd be interesting now. He's got to catch up and get past these 3 Mercedes cars that are in front of him. So how wide will these cars, or 2 Mercedes cars, how wide will they be?
Well, yes, he's got Daniel Junkadea and he's got Pascal Wehrlein as well. Here is Gary Paffett, who in turn is going to have to get past the Jamie Green Audi, isn't he? So there is René Rast now, completing another lap. Look, Duval, Pascal Wehrlein, Daniel Junkadea, running more wide than any, that's for sure. And there you can see, lurking in the background is Gary Paffett.
We've got to remember as well, René Rast has still got 11 uses of DRS, so he's going to try and use the DRS to his advantage now to get past Danny, but Danny will for sure go to the inside probably and defend.
Well, he ain't going to have a chance because the inside that he wants to go into is now filled with the René Rast Audi. He set that up really quite early on, and to be fair to Daniel Juncadella, very professional racing. There was no hint of him having to or defending that place more physically than we would have expected, perhaps. So next, it's Pascal Wehrlein in the target sights of René Rast. So there is the number 94 car of Pascal Wehrlein, former DTM champion, of course. And we go on board with René Rast then, as he lines up the number 94 Mercedes-Benz. Pascal Wehrlein back into the DTM, of course, and the season certainly hasn't gone the way he would have liked it to go. Through the Sachs turn here, the banked Sachs turn, and head up to the final 3 corners. There's corner 1, corner 2, then 3 and 4 of the final corners. They are actually turns 13, 14, 15 and 16. And Rast now will begin to try and reel Pascal Wehrlein in as they head in towards turn number 1. Always run wide, some wider than others. Here is Marco Wittmann chasing down Gary Paffett now. Be interesting to see what sort of a car Marco Wittmann has underneath him as Jamie Green comes in for his mandatory pit stop. Awful lot of wheel spin.
New tires in the car and 15 laps to go.
7.2 second, not a bad stop, but it just looks like when you dump the clutch, Ricky, there's just absolutely nothing there.
No, it certainly brings the tyres in a bit quicker on the rear, but it's just so difficult, and it's so frustrating as a driver when you're just sat there and the wheels are spinning when they're freezing cold. But René has now managed to get past Pascal Wehrlein. The next guy in his sights is another teammate.
Yes, ahead of him now, Lloyd Duval. So there's Danny Juncadella. Now, released from Jamie Green, of course, is Gary Paffett. But I'll tell you what, Marco Wittmann is really, really closing in on him, Ricky.
Yeah, Marco Wittmann is actually the fastest man out on track at the moment. The only guy in the 34s. So he's got to be careful not to use the tyres too much.
Right.
He's also still got only, I think, 4 or 5 DRS usages left.
Yes, he used a lot, didn't he?
Compared to Gary, and it'd be interesting to see if once he gets past, will he be able to pull away? And also, how much of a fight is Gary going to put up? Gary obviously wants the points. He wants to put on a show for the fans, but at the same time, he's got to be careful and calculate with how many risks he takes. As Joel Eriksson runs really wide there, using all of the track. And this man, he's still got a lot of work to do, hasn't he, Paul di Resta?
He has, but you know what? As I keep saying, a lot can happen between now and the checkered flag falling. So there, the quickest man on the track is Marco Wittmann. And he really is chasing down Gary Paffett. Now, in my opinion, and it is only my opinion, Gary is not going to get involved in a fight with Marco Wittmann because it would be futile. What he can't afford to do is defend the place too hard and there to be physicality between the two of them, causing some damage to the car. That would be just stupid, wouldn't it? You know, he's far better off just banking the points, which will still give him plenty enough. And I have to say, I think I called that probably correctly.
I think he gave him a nice wide berth there and waved him through, but be interesting now to see how the Mercedes can hang with the pace of the BMW.
Of course, he is going to have more DRS available to him than Marco Wittmann, that's for sure, but it's whether he chooses to use it or not. Marco's got a very, very quick car underneath him, with or without DRS. I mean, the car was P1 in qualifying, and Marco really has got a very, very quick car. So he puts himself ahead of Gary Paffett. This is Philipp Eng and Paul di Resta. So Philipp Eng as Paul di Resta locks up. Now, you wouldn't expect that overtake to work around that line, but it did for Philipp Eng then.
But it's still not over. It's two runs side by side over the exit curve. Paul comes over and tries to squeeze Philipp, but Philipp's going to hold a strong line.
Well, 3 or 4 turns that took to do it. Fair play to Philipp Eng.
Fair play to the pair of them. There was good respect and racing room left, but I think Paul still wants a bit more of the action.
Oh, I think you're right. Of course, he is a fighter and he is a racer. In comes Nico Muller. Augusto Farfus is already in. Is that Daniel Juncadella making his way down the pit lane as well? Yes, it is. So Daniel Juncadella pulls in. The Ramos team go to work on that car. 6.9 second stop for Nico Muller. And for Daniel Juncadella, it's not a quick one. A problem 9.1. So Joel Eriksson and Nico Müller, as Joel Eriksson puts himself ahead of Nico Müller. Nico, as you can see, weaving from side to side because of those cold tyres, trying to get them up to temperature. Next, he is going to be very vulnerable to Philipp Eng and Paul de Resta, and now Philipp Eng has got past Paul de Resta. You know, he's built up a sizable margin, or he had, before that breaking into the hairpin. On board with Paul de Resta now. Interestingly, when we've had those onboard shots with Paul de Resta, he didn't seem to be quite as lively on the brake bias as Gary Paffin has been.
No, definitely not, but Nico Müller now has got to defend and make his Audi as wide as possible, because Philipp Eng is almost on the back of him as they go through the tight, fast 9 and 10, but Nico's going to hold up one hell of a fight.
Nico, of course, is trying to get temperature into those tyres. Philipp Eng's tyres already there. This is allowing Paul de Resta to come back at him potentially. Into the Sachs curve they go. Philipp Eng is underneath the Nico Müller car. This will give him the outside, though, for the next turn. He yields and slots in once again behind Nico Müller. So, the final 2 turns of the lap then, and Nico Müller, I have to say, has done a good job to stay ahead of the BMW there of Philipp Eng.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's interesting we see these 2 lines with the Sachs curve, one guy going low, one guy staying on the high side, and if you go low, you can carry a shorter distance to the apex, so you can get down the inside, but then, again, the brake bias goes, and another one, and another one. And that's another thing as well, you've got to remember how many clicks you're just going. You're not just turning it each time. You've got to remember you're going 4 clicks, 5 clicks.
You presumably, once you adjust that brake bias though, Ricky, you must feel through the brake pedal how the car is behaving differently.
Yeah, definitely, but it's, again, if you go too far to the rear, you start locking rears, go too far to the front, you start locking fronts, and it's a game of cat and mouse, and that's what Gary is doing so well here, and Marco Wittmann now tries to dive down the inside of Pascal Wehrlein. Good racing room left.
Textbook move there. Pascal is on, well, the second oldest, well, no, the oldest tyres out there, because he and Robin Frijns are yet to stop. So Marco Wittmann gets past him. Here comes Gary Paffin. He'll have no problem getting past Pascal Wehrlein, that's for sure. So the only 2 drivers left to stop, Robin Frijns and Pascal Wehrlein. So the order in the race overall properly is Rast, Wittmann and Paffin. So Robin Frijns into the pit lane now. So Marco Wittmann then, earlier on, having got past Gary Paffin.
13 laps remaining. Watch the white line on the exit.
We have 13 laps remaining. So Robin Frijns on his way out. And a very busy track that Robin Frijns rejoins. Augusto Farfus goes by, and Robin Frijns now will have Timo Glock for company. Both he and Timo were on the podium yesterday. Augusto Farfus and Mike Rockefeller continuing their fantastic fight that they've had. Mike Rockefeller at the moment ahead of Augusto Farfus, but here comes the Brazilian star in the BMW. Then is he going to dive to the inside of Mike Rockefeller as they head towards the hairpin? He shows his face, and through he goes. Mike Rockefeller will try and come back and get underneath him, but he wasn't close enough to be able to do that. So that was a good move from Augusto Farfus, putting himself ahead of Mike Rockefeller in the Audi. We track the cars down through turn number 7. It was a bit of a lock-up from Paul de Resta, I noticed, Ricky, from just as I was watching that Augusto Farfus move. And Paul de Resta, of course, they rolled the dice with a strategy. He came in very early on, didn't he, for his pit stop, in fact, on lap 6. So the final driver to stop is going to be Pascal Wehrlein, and the mechanics are standing by then to receive the Pascal Wehrlein car. Into the box and into the pit lane comes Pascal Wehrlein now. From that low-down camera shot, it looks like they're approaching the pit lane speed limit line really, really quickly.
Yeah, it's a place where you can find a lot of time in.
Copy. There are 14 minutes left in the session, and we fit you a new set of tires. You need to be pushing on your front axle on the outlet. You are on the newest set of tires now.
Oh!
And remember your brake cooling.
They had a problem with that rear tyre, didn't they? Whether it was a problem with the wheel, it was a problem with the wheel getting off the, almost off the spline, wasn't it?
Yeah, Mercedes have been a little bit slow today with the pit stops relative to their competition, but there's just no room for error, is there? The slightest little mistake there with the gun, and the wheel not coming off the spline cost them maybe 1 second, but Nico Muller's now going to try and go right the way around the outside of Joel Eriksson.
Tell you what.
Made it work.
Did.
But now Joel's going to be under pressure now from teammate Philip Eng. Philip Eng looks to the inside.
Joel then just manages to stay ahead of Philip Eng. Nico Muller then all the way around the outside, as you said, with a good move for that overtake. Philip Eng, look at him, all over the back of Joel Eriksson, showing his face to the rearview mirror of the number 47 car, both in their first DTM season. Joel Eriksson, of course, having got a win this season. Philip Eng hasn't been on the podium, but he hasn't been a race winner. As you can see from the graphics, Rast is 5.9 seconds up the road from Marco Wittmann and 9.6 seconds up the road from Gary Paffett. Well, Rast has done everything that he possibly can, but if it stays this way, it's not enough. The championship will go the way of Gary Paffett. Paul di Resta is in the points, but only in P10. There you can see confirmation of the live championship by 4 points. Gary Paffett would take it over René Rast and Paul di Resta in P3. And Paul di Resta is under pressure now from Robin Freins. Robin Freins with the DRS open. Paul di Resta then slots in behind the Audi, so that takes Paul di Resta out of the points because that becomes P11. And Robin Freins goes ahead of him. Again, Paul di Resta locks up going into that hairpin.
Yeah, and it looks like there's been a change of position there between the two BMWs as Philip Eng has now managed to get past, and Timo Glock now trying on Mike Rockenfeller.
Yes, Timo Glock on the inside of Mike Rockenfeller into that turn 7. Heavy braking now down through the gearbox, as you can hear. We're on board with Timo Glock looking back at the car that he has just passed. So Rast leading by 5.9 seconds over Marco Wittmann and Gary Paffett. So inside the garage there. So Gary Paffett then looking pretty comfortable in the car, to be fair. Driving very, very sensibly. Wittmann is still lapping in the 35s. René and Gary are in the 36s. The only other driver in the... this is Nico Muller on Edo Mortara. Robin Freins is quicker than all of them, as you've just pointed out, Rick. He's in the 34s, isn't he? As Nico Muller goes past Edo Mortara here with the DRS assist on the inside. Nico Muller is another one of the very quick drivers out there at the moment, and he puts himself ahead of Edo Mortara to pick up that P5 position. And there, just at the back of that gaggle of cars, is the man that we were talking about, Robin Freins. 1:34.512 his last lap time. So he's into the 34. So he's Nico Muller. Got a relatively clear track ahead of him now. And Robin Freins has got Joel Eriksson there for company. So Augusto Farfus. And in the live championship predictions, 255, 251, 234. If it stays this way, we have under 10 minutes plus 1 lap. And Robin Freins all over Joel. And up to the inside he goes. Now that's not normally somewhere where you would make it happen.
I haven't seen an overtake there this weekend. That was a great move down the inside, late committed lunge, and it's very easy again to lock her front into there, but well controlled.
He's got supreme confidence in the car, hasn't he?
He has now with these fresher tyres. He was a late man to come into the pits, and it's proven to work for the Audi team.
So we just saw Mercedes Motorsport, the boss, Toto Wolff, looking on as his driver, Gary Paffett here, already committed to Formula E for next season. There is Marco Wittmann, who is P2. And the gap between Wittmann and Paffett is some 5.2. from René Rast to Gary Paffett. As you can see, it's 9.6, 9.8, and now it's 10.2 as Augusto Farfus is all over the back of Philipp Eng. We could just see at the back of the shot there. And Edo Mortara, Philipp Eng and Augusto Farfus need to think about Robin Freins, who's closing in on them very, very quickly. Mind you, we have only 8.5 minutes plus 1 lap of the race remaining. So René Rast then, 4.9 seconds to the good. However, Gary Paffett in that P3 place, that's enough for him if it stays this way to seal the championship. And René Rast cannot do any more than win the race, but sometimes, Ricky, when you're in the race, that isn't enough, is it?
No, it can't be, and it's interesting to see as we nearly had a moment there in the commentator's booth.
The reason we're laughing is Ricky nearly fell off his chair.
Yeah, René's doing everything that he can do, and it's one of those things when you know you've done every single thing you can possibly do. You know, I think he's going to get a massive, massive cheer and a salute from all the fans here. But it's interesting again. We're seeing the Audis are really strong at the end of the race,
and particularly this man, Robin Freins. He is on fire, isn't he?
Yeah, and this will obviously be for P8 if he can pull the move off, which I think he should be able to do reasonably easily with the DRS open. But again, there's a gaggle of cars in front of him with Farfus and Eng, and they look like they're starting to battle with each other as well. And that all
plays into his hands, doesn't it?
Draws Mr. Freins right into the action.
So Robin Freins then does get past Edo Mortara, as you've said, with that DRS assist, it was relatively easy. And there is Philipp Eng, Augusto Farfus, and they're going to be joined by Robin Freins any moment now.
Look at how much of a gap he's made to Mortara just in sort of 2 or 3 corners.
I know.
And it's interesting as well, Farfus is weaving a little bit on left to right in the straight line, so is there a problem with the front tyres? Is he struggling to get temperature in them fronts?
So we have 6.5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining. Rast, Wittmann, Paffett, the 1, 2, 3. Then it's Spengler, Muller, Eng, Farfus, and this man, Robin Freins. The back end of him you can just see now. Edo Mortara is P9, and running in P10 is Joel Eriksson. Just out of the points, Timo Glock, and also out of the points, Paul de Resta, and therefore out of the championship chase. 6 minutes plus a lap.
Robin Freins nice and neat and tidy through the turns of 2, 3, and 4. DRS usage now activated. You've got to remember as well, Farfus has DRS in front, so the advantage won't be so strong as both the cars bounce in a straight line.
So Farfus then tries to get to the inside of Eng. Robin Freins almost takes evasive action, doesn't he? But as you say, Augusto Farfus was on the DRS as well. That negated the slight advantage that Robin Freins had, potentially. So Eng and Farfus go side by side, and in comes Robin Freins now to buy into this battle as well. He goes to the outside of Philipp Eng. Augusto Farfus has got the job done. Robin Freins will try the switchback now and try and get underneath Philipp Eng. Now, we've seen him drive all the way around the outside. He's certainly not scared of that, and he stays with it, but he gets not only around the outside, but out onto the runoff area as well. Maintains the speed and momentum, and look at this. He has got so much confidence in the Audi, Ricky. He has just driven around Philipp Eng.
But the battle's not over as Philipp Eng now dives the inside in the Sachs curve. But again, the superior traction of the Audi. The Audi he's doing a fantastic job to find these gaps and open these gaps, and he'll drive inside, outside to get the move done. And great bit of driving, and the car obviously is working really, really well, and that's given a good show for all the fans that are here today as well.
So there is Philipp Eng then, who's just seen that Audi drive all the way around him. And again, look at this. Augusto Farfus up the road. Philipp Eng is going to get a black and white flag, because he did push Robin Freins off the track. Not physically, but lent on him to make sure that made it as difficult as possible. But he's just up the road, Robin Freins now. Rast, 4.5 seconds to the good. Here comes Nico Muller on Bruno Spengler. He'll try and get underneath Bruno now. But Bruno with superior traction off the back of the hairpin there. Let's go on board with Nico Muller on the splitter cam then. Through the gearbox, absolutely flat. But Spengler sticking his elbows out, and Nico Müller is not able to find his way past Bruno Spengler. This is the battle for P4. So at the moment, Bruno Spengler is P4, Nico Müller is P5. Then it is Augusto Farfus, Robin Freins, Philipp Eng, Edo Mortara, Joel Eriksson rounding out the points paying positions. Rast leading from Wittmann and Gary Paffett. And to remind you that if it remains this way for the next 3.5 minutes plus 1 lap, Gary Paffett becomes the 2018 DTM champion. So the crowd in anticipation then. Mercedes-Benz bring to a close their 30-year history in DTM at the end of this race. And of course for them, Ricky, it would be something very special to win with not only the team's championship but also the drivers' championship as well. This man has thrown everything at it. Let's not forget that this will be record-breaking. This will be 6 wins in a row in DTM. Unheard of, isn't it?
I was about to say, would that be a record? We'd have to check on any super fans out there that would be able to help us out, but I think that has to be a record. I've never known 6 consecutive race wins, and they've been dominant as well. Yesterday was probably the hardest I've seen him work for the race win.
Yeah.
But today it's just, he's led from start to finish, and no one can catch him, and no one can keep with the pace that he's got. And as the race continues towards the end, the Audi just seems to be getting stronger and stronger and stronger.
From that blistering start where he got past Wittmann, he hasn't looked back, has he?
Absolutely not. And at the same time, as a driver, the pressure's on, and they're all so close to the limit, and they have to make sure they don't make a mistake, but they also want to push and get the absolute maximum out of the car. As we see the battle now, as Nico Müller must have overtaken Spengler. It'd be interesting if we can get a replay of that, but in the background as well, Farfus is having to defend heavily from Robin Freins.
Robin Freins, another one. And again, it reinforces the point you're making about how good the Audis come on towards the end of the race. Here it is. So Nico Müller then around the outside of Bruno Spengler. And he's just got it, hasn't he? He manages to hold on to it, and then that gives him the inside for the next turn, doesn't it?
He holds position and tries to give him a good fight, but just nothing that he could do.
And we're on board with René Rast now as he turns in through the hairpin.
Them onboard shots are great. You can really hear the car roar as it goes up through the gears. And another great thing about the DTM is obviously the sound and the noise that it puts on for the spectators, shooting flames and screaming RPMs. It really is a great show, and the thousands of fans that are here today. I've never seen Hockenheim so busy.
It's brilliant.
In all the years I've been here. So
how must the pressure be mounting on Gary now? Because, I say pressure, he's out on his own, isn't he? He's 10 seconds behind Marco Wittmann. He's 5 seconds ahead of Nico Müller. And I think the nerves are worse in the garage, aren't they? But, he's just quietly gone about doing what he needs to do, hasn't he? There's been no heroics because there's been no need, and it would be stupid, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. He's been here once. He's been here before. He knows what he's got to do. He can be cool and calm, and he's almost got the perfect conditions. He's not in a situation where he's having to battle like yesterday, but he put the hard work in yesterday.
Yes.
And this morning to ensure a good qualifying position. So,
well, you'll remember he was utterly furious yesterday at the end of the race, wasn't he? Yeah. Things hadn't gone his way.
I don't think he was particularly happy, but it was great to see that he did put a little thing out on social media to say sorry if he offended anyone, and definitely apology accepted if he can bring home this championship.
Absolutely. And, well, there he is. Gary Paffett then, running in P3. As I mentioned just a few moments ago, he's a long way behind Marco Wittmann, who is P2, but he's a long way ahead of Nico Müller as well. And again, he just adjusts that brake bias off the back of the hairpin. Down through the gearbox, and here's Robin Freins and Bruno Spengler, as Robin Freins has put himself ahead of Bruno Spengler now, so Robin Freins is in P5. Bear in mind where Robin Freins started on the grid, Ricky. right on the, right at the back end of the grid. I mean, he has driven and driven and driven the socks off it. Here comes René Rast then, who will cross the timing line now to start the final lap. And here comes Marco Wittmann. But crucially, around the final turn, the Sud curve, and now we see the Mercedes-Benz of Gary Paffett that's running in P3. He starts his last lap. Nico Müller is chasing, so too is Robin Freins. But in truth, Nico Müller could go by him and it wouldn't matter. Gary, I think, has got it all completely and totally under control.
This will be the
Mark
longest...
Blundell is in the garage as well, of course, Gary's manager.
The longest, just under 5 kilometers, the circuit of Hockenheim, and this will feel very, very long.
This is very fitting, actually, for Mercedes-Benz as well. Gary has been such a great, and is such a great ambassador for Mercedes-Benz. He's had a hugely long career in DTM and a hugely successful career in DTM. So for Mercedes to bow out of DTM, to do so by taking the Team's Championship, but also the Drivers' Championship as well, but to take it with Gary Paffett is something very special, isn't it?
Absolutely. He's worked so hard. He's got such a good relationship with the team. And I think in just under a minute's time, we might see...
Don't say it! Shut up,
as the mechanics are making their way out already onto the pit wall.
Here comes René Rast then. He will break records because this will be the 6th win in a row for the Audi driver René Rast. He is the current DTM champion for the next few meters, because as the fireworks erupt, René Rast wins the race. Marco Wittmann takes P2, but with just one turn to do, the Mercedes-Benz driver, Gary Paffett, is going to head towards the timing line and becomes the champion.
Yes, yes. Well done.
Congratulations, Gary Paffett, 2018 DTM champion.
Oh, thank you so much. You guys are incredible. This car all year has been amazing. We did it ourselves. We fought hard. Thank you so much, guys. Guys, you all really deserve this. Thank you much.
Oh, Gary, very emotional.
You deserve it. You deserve it. Well done.
And in truth, he does deserve it. Ricky Collard, that is...
Gary, this is only a great result. Thanks a lot. We are happy. Great.
Uli Fritz then, the boss.
Thanks, Uli. Oh man, it feels amazing. It just feels incredible.
Uli Fritz then, the boss of Mercedes-Benz Motorsport and DTM. And he offers his congratulations to Gary Paffett as well. He is, look at him. That is Uli Fritz.
DTM champion 2018.
So Gary Paffett then gives the thumbs up to René Rast. Rennie took the fight to him, didn't he? But actually, I mean, Rennie could have delivered no more. He really could not have delivered any more, but when you start relying on other drivers having to fall over, Ricky, it's not in your hands, is it?
No, it was out of his control, and I salute him 110%. He's given it absolutely everything he can, but what it takes to become a champion, it's hours and hours and hours and days of hard work and sacrifice being the biggest word here. And behind the scenes, they have to put in so much work. And I think it's all coming out now in Gary's emotions.
And let's not lose sight of the fact, in the tough years that Mercedes-Benz have had, Gary has worked so hard for the brand. Often he would have made sacrifices in terms of setup for others to perhaps benefit from. He's been the perfect team player, hasn't he? And well, he is so rewarded. He does thoroughly deserve this championship, and we're absolutely delighted for him. Gary Paffett is the 2018 DTM champion. And earlier this year, when we sat together in an airport lounge, having a cup of tea, well, little did we know, as the fireworks erupted, René Rast then secures his 6th win in a row. And in so doing, did everything that he could. And what a great shot that is of the helicopter going down the straight as well. He sealed the win, but unfortunately, he couldn't retain the DTM championship. that goes the way of Gary Paffett.
No, and it would be great to see hopefully Rene back next year, and he'll be hungrier than ever to retain or to bring his championship back home. But what a well-deserved champion, and what a great fight that this man has put up today.
Yes, I mean right from the start, you know, he got the start absolutely right. Did Marco Wittmann before they even got into turn number 1, didn't they? Now, I hope, as the cars are making their way, we can see from our commentary position as you watch Gary Paffett take the checkered flag for that P3 and the emotions unleash, because he is the champion. And Mark Blundell to the right-hand side of your picture, Lisa in the middle, to the left is Mauro Engel. Mauro, of course, another former DTM driver. All the cars behind the safety cars and the medical cars. Part of me wants Gary to turn left now and go and do a load of donuts.
Oh,
I think he's going to...
I think he heard you. Come on, Gary.
Go on, Gary. All those fans who he thanked earlier on for all the support that they have given him.
Here he goes.
Right, engage first, dump the clutch. No! No! First of all...
I thought he was going to do some baking.
Gary Paffett, 2018 DTM champion. Well done, sir. Now get in there and get the back lit up.
What a great show. What a great show.
Oh, fantastic.
We're calling the fire engines in a minute. It looks like there's so much tyre smoke off there. It looks like the Hockenheim Stadium is lit up. As the cars so elegantly drive across the grass.
To be fair, yes, you're right. Into the pit lane and into the Parc Fermé area. Nico Müller and Loic Duval and Pascal Wehrlein, and you can see actually the trail of rubber coming off those cars. Whoa, he nearly took Robin Freins out then. I'm sorry, Ricky, you're a racing driver. I'm not. But this is what motor racing is all about for me.
Yes, please, please, please do more of this. As Gary does probably one of the biggest burnouts down the pit straight as well. We can see outside the commentator booth. But this
Rene.
man, take a bow.
Yep.
Take a bow, Rene Rast. What a soldier. Look at the amount of smoke.
Sorry, we don't need any fireworks, do we? It's unnecessary. We just use the smoke that we've got. Oh. And here is the champion. Steady on.
Oh.
Gary Paffett, DTM champion, adds another championship to his tally in a glittering career in DTM. Well done. So everyone making the way down to Parc Fermé, congratulated Wade. Finding it difficult to speak, you know. I'm so thrilled for him. I really am. There's Marco Wittmann. Feel a bit for him. He's P2 is going to be a bit overshadowed, isn't it? Sorry, Marco.
And there's the race winner. Rene Rast pulls up into his grid box.
At last. They've been out showboating. But deservedly so, the outgoing champion. And congratulations there. There's Mark Blundell, former Formula One star, of course. You go on.
There's such a background to motorsport, and the amount of people that it takes and the amount of trucks and lorries that you see that haul all this equipment around.
I must mention Ty, who has supported Gary as well, and Gary, you rocked it. Fantastic. I hadn't noticed that. Yeah, Ty, who has been an ever-present in the paddock, supporting Gary for years and years and years. I don't think he's here this weekend. I certainly haven't seen him, but well done. Your boy did it, mate. There he is. And Gary Paffett, you rocked it. You are the 2018 DTM champion. Well done, friend.
Absolutely amazing, Gary. You really did it. The new DTM champ 2018. I know it hasn't quite sunk in yet, probably in your heart is I don't know at what pulse, but you really did it. Congratulations.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, it wasn't the best race we've ever had, but you know, we were kind of in control. I was trying not to make any mistakes. We were quite safe, but just the feeling at the end was incredible. I mean, yeah, René's been getting closer and closer, and the pressure's been getting on, but the team have been calm, you know, and we've got the job done. And the team, we all really deserve this. You know, we've been worked so hard, and Mercedes has been with me for so long, and we've worked so hard for this, and it's not been easy the last few years. Today, the team have been amazing this year, so this is for everyone in the team.
Congratulations, Gary. You did everything right. Wow. Yeah, so our new DTM champ 2018. Back to you.
Yes, well done, Gary Paffett. Super slow-mos of the top three then. René Rast, race winner, outgoing champion, of course. Did everything he could, and as I say, has broken records as well, because he takes his 6th win in a row. That's extraordinary, and look at the immense respect between the two drivers. That is lovely to see, and it's not always a given, Ricky, is it?
No, it can be really, really difficult to stay friendly with your rival, especially when they're your enemy at the end of the day, and you want to try and beat them, and at the same time, you know, you don't wish bad luck on anyone, and it's great to see at the end of such a hard-fought championship that the two guys can shake and give each other a bit of bromance and a bit of hugging. Hug it out is always the best way, that's what I've heard.
Hug it out. Okay, 255 points is enough for Gary Paffett to win the championship. René Rast second in the championship on 251, and Paul di Resta takes P3 on 233. So there is our new champion, Gary Paffett then. He is offered congratulations from everywhere. And, of course, we'll have 2 podiums. We'll have the podium for the race and then the podium, of course, for the championship as well. There is Marco Wittmann, who, let's not lose sight of the fact, took P2 in the race. And after the setbacks that he had yesterday, did a very, very good job indeed. And he, too, offering his congratulations to this man, Gary Paffett, then, the 2018 DTM champion. As you said, the team the team haven't bowed to the pressure either, Ricky, and that's critical, isn't it? Everyone around you has to keep a cool head as well.
Yeah, it's really difficult for everyone involved in the championship. Like you're saying, there's so many people. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that, you know, Gary could stand up there and try and thank, but when you then deliver the results that are needed and everyone pulls together as a team, this is the result that you get. And, you know, he's really has put his heart on his sleeve when he's been racing out there. He's had some of the best battles and best fights with your likes of Timo Glock that we had at the start of the season, and he's just carried it through all year and been like a pit bull in there.
Yes.
And just never given up.
There's Uli Fritz. He was just congratulated incidentally by Arno Zenzen and Hans-Werner Aufrecht, former chief of DTM, of course. And Klaus Ludwig is there as well. It's really nice to see, isn't it? All these luminaries that are offering their congratulations to the new champion. And there's Ollie Katfenstein, who is PR for Mercedes-Benz, the DTM. And really, really good to see. Really thrilled, really thrilled. One more time. It's a nice play on words, isn't it? So René Rast then will go to the top step of the podium for the race. There's Marco Wittmann then, who takes P2 in the race. Of course, taking P3, the crowd is going to erupt now, because P3 is enough to deliver the championship. Oh, listen to it, Ricky.
Epic, absolutely epic. These are moments which he will cherish for a very long, long time, and it's a shame that we're seeing him move on to Formula E, but it's great that he's going to have a new challenge that will await him.
Arno Sensen we're going to see on the podium then for Audi Sport Team Rosberg. And there's Dieter Gas, the head of Audi Motorsport. And the congratulations all round for the final race of the season. The drivers are on the podium, and we will be hearing the national anthem for Mr. René Rast. So the anthem plays out then, and it is trophy presentation time for the race. As we get a replay then of the fireworks going off as P1 and P2 cross the line. So Leopold Prince von Bayern then making the winner's trophy presentation to René Rast. 6 wins in a row, that's unheard of, absolutely amazing.
If only they had one more race. That's what Randy would be going, oh, if we just had one more race on the calendar.
Carl Wendlinger then, former F1 and DTM driver, of course, makes the team's presentation to Arno Sensen. I spoke to him at breakfast this morning. He's another cool customer, you know.
Well, he's built a fantastic car for Gary and all the other boys at Mercedes-Benz, but...
So, Arno Sensen responsible, of course, for René Rast, and responsible, therefore, for 6 wins in a row. That's extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. So, Marco Wittmann receives his trophy, and now it's time for Gary Paffett from Dieter Gummer, the Lord Mayor of Hockenheim, to present the P3 trophy. Now, that's not the important one. It is, because that's the one that will give him the big one.
That's the one that sealed the deal for him,
that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it'd be an emotional one, I think, when he takes the championship-winning trophy.
So they'll all get together for the photos.
It's quite a good rehearsal, actually, isn't it? To see how they get a bottle of champagne now to practice, and then they get a really, really, really big bottle, bottle of champagne for the second
XXL.
I soaked René.
Yeah, to heck with it. We're not going to wait for the championship podium. We're just going to slaughter him now. Oh, wonderful stuff. Wonderful stuff. To be fair, Ricky, you and I, we've sat together on a number of races this season. We started
right down the back of the neck. That is the worst thing that anyone can do to you. Yeah, he's going to stink at the after party tonight.
We started the season together, and I think both of us knew after we saw the races that we saw at the opening weekend that it was going to be a good season, and it has been. We've seen some extraordinary racing, and there, of course, a very disappointed Paul de Resta, who's Hans-Werner Aufrecht talking to him, and Uli Fritz also trying to console him. Nothing he could do, was there? Qualifying wasn't good to him, and that was always going to be difficult. I've done all the permutations of all the points of where everyone finished, and actually it was academic. It wasn't necessary, was it?
No, it was all quite sort of self-explanatory. It was a calmer race than what we saw yesterday, but at the same time, I think the guys knew that the risks that they could and couldn't take.
Yeah.
And I think the majority of the work was done yesterday and today, and it was an important qualifying session, I think, today, to ensure that he was out of the way of the battle that was taking place today, as we see these slow-mos. Gary, you rocked it, mate.
Certainly did. He certainly did.
Good lad.
And we've seen both sides of Gary's emotions, haven't we? The frustration and the anger that boiled over yesterday, and then the abject joy today.
It's an emotional roller coaster, isn't it, racing?
Yeah, of course it is.
It really is. 1 minute you're on cloud 9, and then the next minute you're sort of down in the dumps.
And it can change like that from race to race, particularly in DTM. Well, here's a confirmation of the final result of the race. René Rast taking the win from Marco Wittmann and Gary Paffett. Then it was Nico Müller, Robin Freins, Bruno Spengler, Augusto Farfus, Philipp Eng, Joel Eriksson, and Timo Glock rounding out the top 10. Then it was Mike Rockefeller, Lloyd Duval, Edo Mortara, Paul di Resta, Danny Juncadella, Lucas Auer, Jamie Green, and Pascal Wehrlein. Didn't lose any cars out of the race at all. All completing the entire race distance. And there, says it all really, doesn't it? Some brilliant images of our new DTM champion.
Not too impressed there, I don't think.
In the driver's standings then, it's 255 points to Gary Paffett, René Rast on 251, P2 in the Drivers' Championship. So everything being ready then for the championship podium, and in conversation there with Uli Fritz is Gary Paffett. And there, Mr. Hans-Werner Aufrecht in conversation, and we are waiting the podium to come for the championship for 2018. There is René Rast. So Uli Fritz is up there.
As we have fresh bottles of champagne now on there.
Did you check, are they the XXL size?
We'll find out in a minute. They'll certainly be shaken, not stirred.
Here comes Paul di Resta. You can see how disappointed he is. It's P3. So near, yet so far, Ricky.
What a fight he put on. What a fight.
It's P2 for René Rast.
A massive cheer from the crowd there for René. Who would have thought that he could have even crawled back half the margin he had 6 races ago?
Extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. But the biggest cheers, of course, will be for this man, the 2018 DTM champion, who's about to take to the top step of the podium. It's Gary Paffett.
So there you have it, Gary Paffett, the 2018 DTM champion, as the national anthem of Great Britain plays out. And the hundreds of, or the thousands and thousands of fans at trackside and hundreds of thousands of people back home will understand this is a fantastic achievement for Gary and the Mercedes team. As the Manufacturers' Championship trophy is presented. It's lifted high into the air, and a massive cheer from all the mechanics and engineers that have helped build a fantastic car for Mercedes. Klaus Ludwig will give the DTM's Teams Championship trophy as they give a hug and celebrations continue for what has been a monumental effort from all of the guys. As we now have the Drivers' Championship trophies being presented.
Jochen Mass here, look, former F1 driver, holds the trophy very carefully.
I think he wants to run off of it. It's a fantastic looking trophy, isn't it?
They are.
Wow.
And Paul di Resta, you can feel the disappointment, Ricky, can't you?
You can indeed, but it's still an amazing opportunity to be up there, and I'm sure there's 15 other drivers that would like to be up in as high as P3.
Klaus Ludwig, three-time DTM champion, presents the trophy to René Rast. And there is René.
What a great show he's put on for everyone.
You bet.
A massive dark horse going into it, and to come so close to the 2018 title on what would be a double championship for him. But the man who's waiting for the big golden trophy.
And this to be presented by former ITR chairman, boss of the DTM in the past, Mr. Hans-Werner Aufrecht. And he presents the trophy to the 2018 DTM champion, Gary Paffett. What about that?
That was a nice camera angle right underneath his name, Gary Paffett. Good.
Indeed.
Good bit of work there by the TV crew. Look at all the Mercedes flags, and again, just to point out the amount of thousands of people it takes to produce a race car like this.
Gary, you rocked it. And he did.
Definitely did indeed. And
right, everyone gets together, the podium all of a sudden becomes a very busy place.
Especially with the size of those trophies, they're massive, aren't they? 3 gold, 1 silver and 1 bronze.
So some great images there of the championship conclusion podium. And Gary, as he said in some of the radio messages we heard, he's worked hard for it. The team has worked hard for it. And everyone is going to join in as Gary Paffett is once again soaked in champagne to celebrate the fact that he has taken the 2018 DTM Championship. What a great way for Mercedes-Benz to end their 30 years with DTM. And let's not lose sight of the fact, Ricky, it's a great shame to see them go. But in so doing, we have a very exciting time coming up in 2019 as well.
That's quite a cool feature. Did you see they've got the GoPro cameras on the bottles of champagne?
So from Ricky Collard and from myself, thanks so much for being part of DTM 2018. We can't wait to see you in 2019. Here's Verena.
What a nail-biting season. What an amazing season 2018. And we have a new DTM champ, Gary Paffett. And the emotions here are just running wild. It's been a crazy year. And thank you guys for joining in. And we hope to see you next year at DTM 2019 then. So here are the highlights. Enjoy and see you next year. Bye-bye.